Saito stood outside the inn room's door, hand raised ready to knock. His dry throat bound him to the spot in a conflict with his sense of decency. As the maid's footsteps broke through his thoughts, he pondered if he should just leave the doctor alone. It is best to let him think. His heart pounded with an ever-growing drumbeat. His records don't lie, the doctor will do fine without your help. Abraham's hand began to lower. Quench your thirst. It has been some time since you last relaxed on a starry night. He stomped his foot, the force sending his fist to the door. Doctor, I wish to speak with you. No reply. I wanted to apologize profusely for my earlier manner. Recently I found myself in a rather... He found the strength to mutter the last words. Low place. While you are being punished, you, like any individual, has the right to a trial and full elaboration of your crimes. Abraham sighed, turning away from the door. The owner? I don't know much about her, but I trust you know we should not waste time trying to look into her. If the two of us think carefully, we should get the boy out unharmed. Silence. Abraham's eyes widened. His hand hurried to his pockets, frantically searching for his key. Memories of the meeting caught up with him, and he checked he was alone in the corridor before launching towards the handle. Abraham's suitcase sat on the bed, the window wide open into the night. That amazing moron. Perhaps I should have just escorted him to the room, sitting out here like a dog for an arrogant cat. He paused, ears searching for the steps of a newcomer. Nothing. Abraham streamed his thoughts to another objective. He licked his lips. Mr. Saito took in the sweet aroma of perfume down the corridor, the faint traces of bottles clashing, betraying the way to the inn's bar. Abraham groaned. A quick drink to keep my strength up, and then straight to the manor before he gets himself into more trouble. The cat curled up by the flames, unperturbed by a fireplace big enough to fit a standing cow. Above it hung the picture of an ancient woman. Her dull eyes followed the doctor where he stepped. Hair did not rest easily against her shoulders. Instead, it tolerated its presence, shredded strands keeping a slight distance above it. She sat in a rocking chair, patched together from an unknown amount of previous furniture, no two patches the same shade. Her squat face grew wrinkles in abundance. The painting itself surveyed the room in its entirety. From the round table in the middle, surrounded by a sofa, to the glass chandelier, decorated with the translucent shapes of dancers twinkling with the blaze. A checkerboard lined the floor, its blacks so deep the doctor felt like his hand could slip into one. Agatha frantically examined the room, always glancing back to the door they came through. The doctor's chuckle broke her harsh breathing. I must say, this is quite the sight to behold. You should be thankful you were wrong. Mistakes can lead to discovery. She bounded over to him, hands failing to keep still.
You don't understand, Dr. Smith. I was told that the entrance led to the courtyard by the owner herself.
Could it be that she was mistaken, or perhaps just lying for her own amusement? She looked about until she spotted the grand double doors on the side of the room, standing ajar to the sound of a twittering bird. Agatha breathed deeply.
I should go find the owner before we're discovered and arrested as trespassers. Once I explain what happened, she will find it a simple misunderstanding and maybe tell it as a story sometime.
The doctor nodded. A good idea. Who doesn't like a news story to tell over drinks? We should each take a different direction in the manor. One of us should be able to find her and explain the situation. Agatha cupped her hands together.
You should stay here. If the fire is still going, then she may be coming back to the room. It would also calm my nerves greatly if I knew where you were.
He hid his grin behind a bow. Then I shall do my best to make you feel better by staying here. With this cat, I should at least still be in good company. The cat scampered through the open door.
Thank you.
Said Agatha.
I shouldn't be long.
Once she stepped outside the room, the doctor's grin dropped. The birds sang distantly from somewhere above. He began to walk around the circumference, grasping at any sound that didn't suit the room. The ever-present cackling of the fire overshadowed anything that could have helped. The doctor knelt down. He peered through the flames, gaze narrowing at the sight. With a deep sigh, he pulled his long coat close to him before leaping through the blaze, putting aside the searing heat to fuel his task. He plucked his sonic out of his pocket, casting aside the coat to burn the corner. The doctor found himself in a new area. He stood on a hatch. It gleamed behind the fireplace sadly. He stepped off to bend down. Tapping it let out a dull, low echo. Satisfaction coursing through him, the doctor opened it to reveal the drop onto a wooden floor beneath. 2 idents marked its constant use. On his landing, he rolled away from the opening. The fire's light reached down where he was, adding a touch of the wider world. The doctor pulled himself up straight, feeling each part of him cry out for a swift end to the night, preferably with a cup of tea. Beyond the hole, no exit came to him. The smell hit him first, its musky odorousness shocking his system awake. Smaller than any room he had discovered that evening, its only decor lay in a bundle of rags cowering in the corner. He whistled, stopping himself when he did not hear an echo. The pile in the corner began to squirm, letting out a high whining. The doctor let its regrettably familiar sound pierce through him. No man or woman went their life without making that sound. The rags dropped away, letting an eye, frantic and wide, peer out to him. The doctor smiled. He did his best to straighten himself up past his beaten exterior. The doctor crouched down to the rustling rags. "It is all right. My name is the doctor. What is yours?" He extended a hand and waited. His legs started to ask for rest, but his mind denied them. Slowly, the rags toppled as the boy cautiously came out. Dirt clung to him tightly, caking his clothes along with hiding his green skin. Pools of orange made up his eyes that surveyed the room. He took the hand.
"Grigori, Pavlo,"
the boy muttered. "Such a well-mannered lad. How long have you been down here?" Grigori didn't reply. The doctor chirped himself up, regretting that this incarnation didn't do bubbly better. Best not to think about it too much, as it won't really be relevant shortly. Grigori pointed a shaky finger skywards.
"How will we get up there?"
The doctor stood tall, being sure that it was his best in-control stance. The edge of the hatch sat 10 feet above the floor. The doctor rubbed his chin before examining the room. "This would be easier if I travelled with someone."
"Can you take me home?"
The doctor gazed down at the boy. Grigori shuddered as the doctor reached to pat his head. His eyes quivered, holding back tears. From the lines across Grigori's face, it was something they failed at.
"I want to go home and sleep without nightmares."
The doctor nodded. The right thing to say would have been that he would never have nightmares again. He bit his cheek. "I will get you out of here," he declared. "You will get home and you will be safe with your family." The doctor shook his head. He tried to speak again, but the pile of rags caught his attention once more. Clarity struck him. He clicked his tongue. "Grigori, how well can you tie a knot?" The boy looked back at the bundle.
"Quite well, sir."
"Sir? Oh, you and I will get on quite well." The doctor darted towards the pile, grabbing 2 random pieces and tying the ends together. "Now, young man, if we can tie something long together, I can jump up the hatch and lower it down for you."
"Really?"
A flicker of hope lit in Grigori's voice. The doctor winked. "Why, of course. I was a cat once, and a cat's greatest skill is jumping." That was an odd incarnation. A chuckle emerged in Grigori's hoarse throat. For a moment, the child sat next to the doctor, eyes tracing each action he did. Then his hands moved to mimic the doctor's. Grigori cautiously clutched a pair of rags and began tying them together, gaining speed as successful knots went on. A sharp, smoky hiss came from above, the light swiftly leaving the two to the damp dark. Grigori gasped, flinging himself to the doctor's side. His breathing became shallow and harsh. He tightened his grip on the cloth in hand, burying his head into the doctor's shoulder. The Time Lord's eyes adjusted, making out the shape of someone at the edge of the hole. They pulled away before a rope dropped across the side, It dangled in front of the doctor as thick as his fist.
What was that?
Grigori squeaked. The doctor hummed. Someone up there is being very nice and dropped down a rope for us. He tried to move, but the boy held him still.
Don't the lady likes to play games?
Does she now? Quieten down, came a loud whisper. We don't have much time. The doctor felt the paradoxical mix of annoyance and relief at the sound of Abraham's voice. He turned to Grigori. Listen, he muttered. This is the man who sent me to come find you. He is here to help. The boy lifted his head.
Promise?
I promise. Guiding the boy's hand to the rope, the doctor helped him to climb up, raising him up higher even to grab Abraham's arm. With the boy safely up, signalled by a somewhat satisfying sputtering of pain noises from Mr. Saiter, the doctor himself stepped back to clear his mind. With a spring-like jump and help from the rope, he gripped the edge of the hole before heaving himself up. The three crawled through the now smouldering fireplace, the men dusting themselves off as soon as they stood on the other side. Grigori looked around the room and back to the ashes multiple times, eyes lingering less on the entrance each time. Finally, he rushed to the doctor to give him a hug. The Time Lord felt the words
Thank you
against him. He hesitated before patting the boy on the head. The doctor turned to Abraham. Where did you find the rope? With a flick of the wrist, the gentleman pulled out a dagger from his sleeve. That, my friend, is the bad news. It was laid out here along with a bucket of water. The boy is right. Someone would like to play.
Are we going to be alright, sirs?
Grigori gazed up with wide eyes. Of course we will, the doctor swiftly answered. If she is playing a game, I will just have to break her rules then. Is that not right, Mr. Saiter? Abraham glanced at the boy, eyes pleaded to the both of them. He averted his own, but replied, That is quite right, Doctor. So then, the doctor placed a hand on Abraham's shoulder, adding to the pressure of each word. Now, I am very thankful for your quick save, and for you actually doing something about Grigori being trapped here, but I am going to ask you this once, and I will get a simple answer from you. Abraham twinged, though kept his posture straight. Ask away, but please do it quickly. Is there anything about the owner that you, in your apparent lack of wisdom, forgot to actually tell me? Mr. Saiter sighed with a shudder. Nothing I forgot to tell you, but there was something I left out. It wouldn't happen to involve what a sanguinus is, would it? Mr. Saiter nodded. The owner is a creature like no other. If she finds us, she will... He looked down at Grigori. Amidst the stare of his sparkling eyes, Abraham shrugged the doctor's hand off and gestured for them both to follow as he headed out the room to continue. He dropped his voice to a whisper. Then she will literally drain your bodies dry. The doctor looked back and pointed to the painting. Is that really the owner above the fireplace? Abraham nodded. They pushed open the double doors. Silence. To their right sat a staircase illuminated by a single walled lamp at the bottom, leaving the rest of the steps to ascend into darkness. Their left held larger doors, a midnight breeze creeping through the cracks, rattling hinges. In a moment, Abraham's relief washed over his face. The doctor encouraged the boy towards Mr. Saiter. If you take Grigori, I can find Agatha, hopefully before the owner does. Abraham raised an eyebrow. What is Miss Papyrus doing here? Some last-minute practicing for tomorrow. You can thank her for me getting into the manor. His heart stopped. She went to find the owner. I'll need to act fast. Abraham peered up the steps. Am I to assume that she went up there? The doctor rushed to the door handle, gripping it tightly before attempting to fling it open. It took his strength from both that and his shoulder barging into the wood.
We can't get out.
Grigori rushed to his side. The doctor shook his head. The door is just one way of escaping, my young friend. Fortunately, I know another. He began to stride back through the first room, heading straight towards the tattered door to the spiraled staircase. The doctor gestured to it. Abraham, take the boy back the way we came. Abraham darted in front of him. That's just it, Doctor. I came through the front door. The slow echo of descending footsteps chimed through the room. Its rumble rippled through their bodies. Grigori lunged towards the door, pleading to the pair.
Please, that's her. I know it.
Abraham clenched his fist. Doctor, get away from here. No chance. The doctor tracked the movements. The steps grew closer. I asked you to get the child from the mansion. You were also to avoid the owner if you could help it. Let me stay here and deal with her. Abraham span a dagger in his grasp before readying it. His words shredded the higher class tone their meeting held. The doctor chuckled, patting Abraham on the back. A shudder shot through Mr. Siter, causing him to drop the dagger and hurry to pick it up. If there is one thing you should know by now, it is the simple fact that I enjoy not doing what you tell me. He eased the knife from Abraham's grasp before telling Grigori, if you go through the door, you will find a long staircase. Stick close to the wall until you reach the bottom. There will be another door. It will be your escape. Do you understand? Grigori shook his head. The small boy started to protest but then fell as silent as the room. Quiet humbled the trio for only a brief moment before the double doors burst open.
Dr. Smith, did you find her yet?
Agatha stepped through the dark, illuminated brilliantly by a simple candle whose handle she clutched carefully. She bowed to Mr. Siter.
I see you have brought another guest for the house. Do you have an invite as well?
Sir, we must run.
The boy cried out. His hands grew red as he gripped the door.
Quickly!
Do not be frightened, child. My name is Agatha. What is yours?
Grigori did not reply. He frantically reached out for the doctor, who leaned in closer to the boy as the others spoke. Agatha Papyrus? Abraham outstretched a business hand. Mr. Siter, I would like to know where the owner is. Agatha clicked her tongue. A smile wiggled its way across her soft lips. Instead of a reply, a small giggle slipped out. The hostess straightened herself with a clearing cough. She breathed in deeply, only to erupt into a cackle which rocked the room. Agatha, still laughing, launched herself forward towards the boy, a candle dropping to the floor extinguished. The doctor blocked her path. She stopped. As she pulled away, the fireplace burst into life once more. Along with its cackles, the sound of Agatha's body hitting the floor, knife embedded into her chest, shot through the trio.